Hello, what's up guys? Your guy Promzy once again. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are talking about most likely questions that you will be asked when you're applying for your B1, B2 US visa. So if you're ready for this video, stay tuned. Welcome back guys once again to my channel. So like previously said, in today's video, we're going to discuss potential questions that you would be asked when you are applying for a tourism visa or a business visa to visit the United States of America. One thing you should know is the decision whether your visa would be approved or not is given to you immediately when going for your US visa interview. Not like other embassies that you're supposed to wait a couple of weeks or days to get a feedback from the embassy. That means the interview has a lot of influence on whether or not your visa would be issued. So I always entreat applicants to prepare enough when applying for their visa. So before the interview, there are certain documents you need and you have to have before you can even attend the interview. I've done a separate video about that, talking about documents needed for your visa interview. So let's dive straight into the point and talk about some questions that you'll be asked during your visa interview. So one and the most important question that almost everyone is asked is the purpose of travel. Why are you visiting the United States, or why do you want to go to the United States? It could be that you're on vacation and you just want to see the US, you want to see some famous cities in the US like New York or Washington. That is allowed, as your purpose of travel is totally for tourism. It's either you're on vacation and you want to see your family, if you have family in the United States, or just for relaxation, that's tourism. Whatever your reason is, let it be known clear and in simple language to the consulate that, hey, I'm on vacation and I want to go for a visit in the United States, or hey, I'm attending a conference, an educational conference, I applied and I'm going for this conference in Chicago. Whatever your reason is, make it short and clear to the consulate. So the next question that you are most likely to be asked is your duration. How long do you intend to stay in the United States? If you are going for a conference and the conference is for 3 days, so probably a week in the States would be reasonable. If you're going for a conference that is supposed to last for 3 days and you tell the consulate that you intend to stay in the United States for 3 months, that means you have your own intentions to visit the States, not to go for the particular conference you are presenting at the embassy. And if you are going for a visit to visit the famous cities in the United States, probably a month or 2 would be reasonable than to show up at the embassy and say that you want to go and stay for 1 year based on tourism in the United States. That will raise some amount of concern during the interview. Other questions that you are most likely to be asked, especially if you've been to the US before or you've had an encounter with the embassy before, is your previous encounter at the embassy. Have you been to the embassy before? Have you been refused visa at the US or Canada before? Or have you visited the United States before? So this question varies from person to person. If you've been to any US embassy before, because they have the data and they have your information. If you've been to any embassy and for some reasons you were refused, or whether they issue you the visa, whatever the reason is, let it be known. And with this particular question, there's no need for you to lie. Have you been to the US before? If you've not been to the US before. Have you been to any US embassy before? If you have, then you have to tell the consulate why you were at the embassy and what happened. Were you rejected? Did you get your visa or decided not to go? Whatever the reason is, this particular question changes from one person to another. Other questions that they ask, whether you are traveling alone or you are traveling in a group, especially if you are going for conference. If you are going for conference and the application is done as a group, then obviously you're supposed to tell the consulate that, hey, I'm going with a group of students, or I'm going with a group of colleagues. You have to have certain basic information about these people, their names and certain things, because follow-up questions might come. But if you are traveling alone, if you are going to visit a family, or you are going for a conference, personal conference, or you are going for a conference and not in as a group, then you tell them, I'm traveling alone and you're not going with anyone. The next point will be accommodation. You want to go to the United States for a visit or a conference, or whatever your reason would be. Where will you be staying once you are in the United States? Make sure you have a valid reservation at a hotel, Airbnb, a hostel, whatever form of accommodation you seek to have, make sure you have a valid reservation so that should the consulate ask for that particular document, you would be able to provide those documents and prove that you book hotel reservation or you've made some reservation at so and so, and that's where you would be. And if you are going to visit a family, if you are going through a family invite, then probably the person who is inviting you's address will be your place of accommodation. One of the most important questions, if not the most important question on the list, is what do? Your ties in your country of residence. Are you a student? Are you working? Are you married? What is holding you back in your country of residence? Because they don't want to give people visa to go to the United States and be illegal immigrants in the United States. So what are you doing in your country of residence that will convince the consulate that if you go to the US for the period you've stated, whether for 1 week, 2 months, 3 months, you would come back? Are you a family person? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have documents to support whatever you are saying? Are you a student? Are you in your final year, your first year? Are you working? And if you are working, what position do you hold in a company? How long have you been in that particular company? And other stuff. For me, I applied for my US visa outside my country of birth. So I'm Germany and I applied for my visa here in Germany. So how long I've been in this country, what I was doing in this country, what shows that if I go to the United States, I will come back. And that was my academics. I was enrolled in a university and I was doing my master's. So there's no way I would travel to the US and not return back to Germany. They want to know that you wouldn't go to the United States and be an illegal immigrant in the country. So you are supposed to prove beyond reasonable doubt that when you go to the United States, you will come back to your country of residence, and you're supposed to prove whatever you are saying with documents. One other question you are most likely to be asked is the sponsor. Who is sponsoring your trip? Are you going to visit a family? If yes, who is sponsoring that trip? Are you going for a conference? If you are going for a conference, are you sponsoring it yourself or is it being sponsored by the organization that is organizing the conference? If it's being sponsored by someone, you should have the necessary document in case they ask you to provide those documents. One question I would like to throw light on is, do you have family in the United States? If you've been invited by your mother or by a family in the United States, you definitely can't show up at the embassy and tell the one interviewing that you do not have a family at the state. Meanwhile, you are applying to visit a family. So in some cases, you have no other option but to admit to the point that you have family in the United States. If you don't have close relative in the United States, there's no need for you to say that you know someone in the United States. So because these people don't want non-immigrants going to the United States and feel very comfortable because they have a lot of their family members there and refuse to leave the country. So once you say that you have a family at the United States, then there will be a lot of follow-up questions. What is your relationship with this person in the United States? The person's status in the United States? What the person does? So once your answer is yes to this question, be prepared for follow-up questions. If you know someone, a family friend or a long-distance cousin, there's no need for you to say that you know or you have a family at the United States. So my tip for this question would be, if you have a close relative or you've been invited by a family member, then definitely your answer should be yes, you have a family in the United States. If not, any other long distance relationship shouldn't be involved during the visa interview, because this question is very dicey and might lead to a rejection of your visa. One thing I would like to say is every interview is different. I know people who showed up at the embassy and were asked only 2 questions: their purpose of travel and when they seek to return back to their country of residence. They didn't have to submit any documents, even though they had it on them. The consular didn't ask for any document. Other people showed up and are asked a lot of questions. All in all, I would say that make sure you prepare enough before you show up at the embassy. If in your case they don't ask a lot of questions, then that is fine with you. But if they ask a lot of questions, then you will be prepared for those questions. Okay guys, so we've come to the end of this video. I hope you find this video very educative and informative. If you did, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Like always, the name is Promzy and I'm signing out. Peace.